is going on, Vype Nation? Scotty T, Wac, back with you again for another Monday show. No interview today, but we're gonna make it work. A lot of good things happening in the world of sports. So myself and Scotty T are gonna break it all down for you. Before we do that, Scotty, how we doing today?
Wac, doing good, man. Doing real good. It's Monday, so we are surviving and we're thriving today. So no complaints. How was your weekend, man?
It was good. Almost got to throw up the horns for another national championship, but Texas came up just short against Kentucky in the volleyball NCAA tournament. But good thing for them is supposedly all those Texas athletes so far have said they're coming, or the theory is they're coming back. So should have a pretty good chance to win it all again next year. So of course Kentucky could probably do the same. So can't complain other than that. We got some lacrosse happening right now that we're covering here in the state of Texas for Vype, and as you know, state happened this weekend. We'll get into that in a minute. Did you do anything fun this weekend, Scotty?
Well, to your point, real quick, there were a few Houston volleyball players who were on that Kentucky team that won the national championship. Matt Malatesta wrote a really good article about it on Vype.com, which you should go check out. I'm pulling up that article right now. Obviously, there are a lot of Houston people who go and play for the University of Texas, the home state team. So the state of Texas representing on the volleyball level, which is pretty sweet. On a side note, on a personal note, this is also kind of a sad day, Josh.
Why is it a sad day?
Kim Mulkey is no longer the head basketball coach at Baylor women's basketball. I am very sad about it. I'm not going to lie. She's been there for 21 years, man. That is a long time to be at a program really built. That's like the first Baylor program that became a national power was women's basketball. I remember when I was in school there at a good time, as we touched on last week. There were more people who would go to the Baylor women's games than there were the men's games. In my freshman year, the men made it to the Elite Eight, eventually lost to Kentucky. So, but that was also the year that Brittany Griner was on the Baylor men's basketball team. They won the national championship. So Kim Mulkey, incredible. Almost like a Bill Self run at Kansas, kind of put in perspective, or like a Gino Auriemma at UConn women's basketball. She is one of the top 1-2 coaches, maybe top 3 if you want to count Pat Summitt, of all time in women's basketball. And she goes to LSU, her home state. So just selfishly as a Baylor fan.
Yeah, and I want to get back to that Kentucky team in a second, but to add on to your point, someone on social, as people often do, made a little comment like, is this her retirement spot? She's leaving such a strong program in Baylor to go to LSU. She's going to be there for like 5 years to kind of set herself up for retiring in the LSU and in the Louisiana community. What do you think about that?
I buy it because Kim Mulkey, she's fiercely to her family, and she's from Louisiana. She won the first 2 ever national championships, if I'm not mistaken, at Louisiana Tech. Her first coaching gig, I believe, was at LSU, or she was a longtime assistant at LSU before getting her breakthrough at Baylor. And I don't know, I was kind of talking to a few people, doing some what's the inside baseball on it. Wasn't able to get much, but I'd heard she had kind of been unhappy at Baylor for a little bit, even though she was still competing for a national championship year in and year out. But the draw to home is strong, man, and I think that is more evident and clear than ever in this situation with her going back to LSU.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see. I mean, LSU is not a power like Baylor has become, so it'll be interesting to see what she can make with that. I mean, obviously, her name is going to draw in probably, you would assume, some top talent in the country. So we'll see what she can do with LSU. But I want to move back to Kentucky. Staying in the SEC of all things for a second. Is that was SEC's first volleyball championship in the history of the SEC. That's like the one that I think they've had 21 sports they compete in at the Division I level in the NCAA. That was the one that the SEC hadn't had a championship with, and Kentucky was the one to bring it home for them.
Really?
Yeah. So little history was made on Saturday there, not only with Kentucky winning their first, but also winning the first for the SEC.
That's a big deal, man. And Kentucky, really, of all, like LSU has had some really good volleyball teams. Georgia, if I'm not mistaken, like the SEC. People say SEC, like yes. So I wouldn't have picked Kentucky first one for some reason.
Yeah, and I think sometimes it probably has to do with their football pedigree, right? So when you, or sometimes even their basketball pedigree to an extent as well, where I guess Kentucky is actually an SEC power in basketball. But, when you think of the names, you think of LSUs, you think of the Georgias and the Bamas, and then you kind of, oh, well, there's Kentucky too. So very good, like I said, very good squad. And I think, I don't know if everyone's coming back because they did have a few seniors, but of course with the COVID rules and the fifth-year senior options that, has become available, I think you're going to see, you might just see a repeat of this year's championship game because you got two really good squads, and like I said, I think Texas is all coming back, so we'll see what happens. But let's go ahead and move down one level, and let's go back to the high school ranks. We got some sports to cover there, and we'll start on the ones we know results of, and well, I guess final results of, and that's wrestling. Wrestling had their state tournaments this past weekend, and so you got 6A through 4A. Of course, I think at like the lower levels they can still compete, but they have to compete like the 40 level or what have you. So let's go ahead and run through these brackets. I got them here so you can see and our folks can see at home. I'm going to look up here at my monitors. I'm going to look away from the camera. Let's go ahead and I gotta scroll here.
Let's just see team results first.
You want to do team results first? No, I want to save those for the end because I've already looked at the team results and so I know the results on that. So let's save the team results for last. So we're going to start here in 6A. So I'm just going to run through them real quick because we got quite a few. But at the weight class of 106, I'm not going to even try and say some of these names. I have a lot hard last names, that's why people call me Wac. So if I do try and pronounce your name or I missay it, just know I understand your pain, okay? So
not on purpose.
Exactly.
We apologize in advance.
So let's say we're just going to run on down. This is the boys 6A 106 weight class. Got Joseph Lechke from Allen. 113 weight class. Sean Rikars from Arlington Martin. 120, we got Braxton Brown from Allen. 126, Caden Moore from Allen. 132, Nazir Bailey from Arlington Martin. 138, I'm going to say Tegan Jameson, Plano West. 145 weight class, Donovan Whitted from Arlington Martin. 152, Sincere Bailey from Arlington Martin. 160, John Richardson from Prosper. 170, Darwin Hull from Schertz Clemens, San Antonio team. 182, Jonathan Wirtz from Conroe Woodlands College Park. 195 weight class, Eli Shireen from Klein. 220 weight class, Maxwell Soto from Arlington Martin. And the 285 weight class from Ivan Escobar from El Paso Montwood. Let me move on down here. From the 5A 106 weight class, we got Ashton Bennett from Canyon Randall. 113, we got Kenneth Hendrickson from Carlington Creekview. 120, we got Zachary Cassius from Lubbock. 126, Andres Mendoza from Canyon Randall. 132, we got Robert Ruiz from Dumas. 138, Ashley Yart from Dumas. 145, Jaron Gallegos from Canyon Randall. 152, Evan Atchley from Colley View Heritage. 160, Hank Meyer from Burleson Centennial. 170, Colin DeVee from Argyle. 182, Branson Britton from Canyon Randall. 195, Jacob Underwood from Lucas Lovejoy. 220, Mason Dean, Carlington Creekview. And 285, Marshall Hodges from Middle Lothian. And I think I said there was 4A. There is not. So it's just 5A and 6A. So just real quick, before we kind of go into everything, anything you see that kind of stood out to you as far as maybe names or schools or what have you?
Really, Wac, I would say the Metroplex. The DFW Metroplex had a lot of teams and a lot of individuals who were competing for this state championship. I mean, really, wrestling, I feel like, is its own beast. It's almost like track. You get a lot of football guys or basketball guys, and particularly football, who will wrestle. And I think college coaches like that. Guys, especially like for your position players in track, you love getting the times. In football or in wrestling, we actually covered a wrestling event about a year and a half ago now. It was on the junior high level, but I was just really impressed on just, wrestling teaches you how to position your body, how to move somebody where they don't want to be moved. And so just looking at it, you kind of forget how many weight classes there are. Not only is there a team championship, but there's so many individual championships here. And the DFW Metroplex, they put a lot of emphasis in wrestling on the boys' side of things, because that also does help their football teams as well. And that's part of the reason why, in my opinion, the DFW Metroplex does really well on the state on the state level in football.
Yeah, and we'll go here to the team stats, and you'll see that Allen is a wrestling power, not only a football power, some would consider, but I would say even more so a wrestling power, as they take home the 6A team results, and at 5A level with Canyon Randall. So they had quite a few. They'll go back here and show you. They had quite a few winners at the 5A level there. I think let's count it up here. 1, 2, 3, 4 winners.
At the 5A level, shout out to the Panhandle of Texas. Really representing up there in the 5A level. There's just the population isn't there, I think, for 6A. But, I mean, look, 5A is still no joke. And so really representing and showing up there for the Texas Panhandle.
Let's go ahead and move to the girls' bracket now. So go ahead and pop that up. And let's go through the results. We'll go through individuals and then go through teams. So at the 6A level, 95 weight class, Olivia Giorgio, Conroe Woodlands College Park. 102, Elena Martinez, Allen. 110, Bailey Trang from South Lake Carroll. 119, Olivia Moreno from Austin Bowie, represent Austin. 128, Jaden Bazemore from Cypress Ranch. 138, Gianna Moreno from San Marcos. There you go. That's my, I don't call it my hometown, but it's my college town, and I got a soft spot for San Marcos, as you know, Scott.
Heyo.
148 weight class. That's right. 148 weight class, Jasmine Robinson from Allen. 165, Caitlin Bryant from Katie Tompkins. 185, Britton Corbishley from Conroe Woodlands College Park. And from the 215 weight class, Treya Hayes from Cibolo Steel, San Antonio area right there. I think one of the few I think there was 2 San Antonio teams that got them and Church Clemens and the boys. 5A level, 95 weight class, Avery Stout from Canyon Randall. 102, Jaron Orgeron, I think I might say that, Canyon Randall. 110, Kylie Robledo from El Paso Hanks. 119, Tatiana Garcia from Amarillo Caprock. 128, Aubrey Yeager from Burleson Centennial. 138, Maddie Sandquist from Humboldt Kingwood Park. 148, Avery Beckman from Friendswood. 165, Elizabeth Grabick from Louisville, the Colony. 185, Aaliyah Villarreal from El Paso Hanks. And 215, Lexi Shandon from Humboldt Kingwood Park. And so for team results, here you go. Allen and Canyon Randall. So, as you can see, Allen and Canyon Randall represented both at the boys and the women's level. I would argue, just going through the results too, though, but I would argue, I guess there's 2 wins, I think, apiece for them, but it looks like, Canyon Randall definitely showed out here on the men's and women's side just as much as Allen. And of course, we know Allen's that powerhouse that everyone talks about at the wrestling level.
Yeah, for sure. That's a big credit to those programs that those coaches have built over there, boys and girls side. And I'll tell you what, those girls are tough. Those girls are really tough. And as I mentioned earlier, wrestling's not easy, man. And so big shouts to those teams and individuals. And also, yeah, you see those individuals go out and win those state titles, but it really is a team sport. You got every point matters in a weird way in wrestling, kind of like a team tennis or golf or anything like that. It's those individual sports. It truly does take the entire team. Yes, you need your stars, your champions to perform, but it takes the whole team in order to come home with that team title. Yeah,
and I feel like, I don't want to say it's not as well covered, but I feel like it's a slept-on sport as well here in the state of Texas. I think you have the tight-knit wrestling communities and those that are, the big fans, if you will, that definitely will cover and talk about it. But, when you compare it to, Texas football, for instance, or some of the others, I feel like it doesn't get as much love. But we try and do what we can here. Like you said, kind couple of years ago, December 2019. We covered the middle school championships. And so, big stuff coming here. I think this was actually one of the last sports that did their championship before COVID took part last year. So,
That's right. Usually the wrestling state championship happens around late January, early February time period. And this was kind of the last sport that got pushed back because of the COVID-19 pandemic. So baseball, we are back on schedule. Softball, we're back on schedule. Track and field, we're back on schedule. And I would hope, and I think, that all sports moving for the 2021-2022 calendar year will be back on schedule now that we're all good.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if how the schedules affect. Like, I know, for instance, and I know he always comes back to football, right? There's talks of, do you keep the 1A through 4A and 5A through 6A separate like that? Because I know a lot of people, when you talk about media and even the UIL themselves, was like, hey, it was nice to, have that little break and not have to go. I think it's Wednesday through Saturday. There's a little kind of breather in there because you're only doing 4 divisions and then the last 2 later on. So be interesting to see if they keep it that way.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely pick up the conversation probably around the end of school year into the beginning of June, whenever the UIL officially announces their schedule. I'm not sure when that's going to be. That's just kind of my guess and estimation. But yeah, just hearing some feedback, at least on the writer side of things, people liked it that it was kind of spread out. It gave the smaller schools more of a show. When everybody really cares about your 5A and 6A levels. Yes, your 4A, Carthage just putting on a show, same with Argyle this last year. But it really gave those Lindales and those other 2, 3, 4A schools their time to shine a little bit more. So those games were electric.
Yeah, if we're being honest, those games were actually the closer games. Yeah, so it'll be interesting to see. I don't think they're going to do it. I think they did it for a reason this year, and that
Sure.
So the reason's a little kind of mute going in, not as mute, but not as big of an issue going into this fall. So we'll see what happens. But we did have some regional track meets this week. I don't have all the results, so can't pull those up and show you. But definitely, and so I'm not going to talk about either one way or other. Just that we got state track in a couple of weeks now. I think it's the 8th and the 9th, if I'm not mistaken, or 9th, 7th, and 8th, if I'm not mistaken. Same time as the lacrosse championships, by the way. But that one's going to be interesting. I know. You got in Houston, you get the Fort Bend, Marshall just chomping at the bit there because, they've been a pretty power in the track community, pretty big power in the track community. And, of course, no one got to really show off last year because, as we know, state track didn't happen. And I think there's a lot of teams just kind of waiting for their chance to be like, yeah, this would have been us last year if COVID hadn't happened. What do you got to say on that?
Fort Bend Marshall at the 5A level is probably the team to beat. Just because Lloyd Banks over there has built a power of a program. He's a friend over here at Vype on the Houston side of things. And, look, they've won, if I'm not mistaken, for the last 5 state championships in track and field. And I don't think – and that obviously doesn't include last year. When last year they had Devon Chain, who – broke out with Texas A&M as their star running back in their bowl game. So, that's Fort Bend Marshall, the M block representing on the track and field. They're, kind of what we're saying, track and field is almost similar in wrestling in the sense that in wrestling there's so many weight classes. In track and field there's so many events. So I remember 2 years ago, who stole the show at track and field was this kid named Matthew Bowling out of Straight Jesuit. That's what really put track and field on the map for me, was Matthew Bowling. Like Josh Cook, one of our writers here in Houston, he says he's never seen a police escort at a high school level for a athlete. And that's what Matthew Bowling had. The guy was a rock star. And obviously we broke the internet with his come from behind win in the 4x4, which was outrageous. Still like one of the best videos I've ever seen. But Straight Jesuit didn't win the state championship that year. Yes, the relay team won the individual one, but Jake Jesuit lost, I believe, by 2 points, if I'm not mistaken, due to a drop baton or something like that. I get fact check on that. I apologize, but there was like a fault or something that cost them the state championship. So it could come down. It could come down to the wire for whoever makes it to the state championship in a couple weeks.
Well, and I'll be frank. I'm not following track every, coming through every result like maybe some other people are. But if I'm mistaken,
how dare you?
No, how dare me, right? But if I'm not mistaken, there's been a lot of back and forth as far as PRs and new best times between relay teams across the state of Texas. Like someone's had it 1 week and the next week someone else gets it. So I think especially, and I think that's what a lot of people enjoy at the track is those relays, right? Because it's a little more exciting with the handoffs and the times and whatnot. So I think that's what I'm looking forward to are those relays coming up and seeing, because like I said, you've had those teams setting their PRs and going back and forth on who has the best time in the state for the season. So what's on the line for some of these teams as far as just bragging rights, if you will, and being the state champion.
Sure. And I think that's probably going to be more of a topic for next week. Is going to be more of a track and field heavy show. So that way we can know who exactly is going to the state championship. We can break down the time, see how they're all matching up because, you got the best of the best in your 4 regions that are all meeting on the state level at UT. So they're going to be at the University of Texas in Austin for the state championship in 2 weekends from now. Not this weekend, but the next one. And really, it's the relays that garner the most excitement, and then also probably the 100-meter dash. Kind of like the Olympics, everybody wants to see who the fastest person is, and the 100-meter dash is truly that just go sprint. And so I'm really excited for the men's and the women's side of things because there are some phenomenal athletes that I can't wait to see to run on the track and throw that discus around, man. They can throw it a long way.
Mm-hmm. Before we get to the favorite news segment of the show, do want to say our rankings will be coming out for baseball and softball. This will be the last week for baseball because baseball playoffs start this week. Or no, excuse me. This will be the last week of the softball rankings because the playoffs start next week, and then we'll have one more week of baseball rankings because their playoffs start the next week. So big shakeups coming up in San Antonio. Lots of I wouldn't say upsets, but it hasn't been as easy of weeks for some teams. I'll just leave it at that.
Josh, maybe we need to do a little recap show like we did in San Marcos just to hear some reasoning and thoughts behind it because, there's going to be a lot of movement in these rankings. Sneak preview. So go check it out on Vype.com. Baseball dropping tonight, softball dropping tomorrow.
Yep. So it is that time for the show. Who's the mascot?
Josh, I got to tell you, I have not looked at any mascots this week. I didn't do any homework or anything because I thought about it. I was like, man, do I want to study up on my mascots here? But I'm letting it ride because I was 1 for 3 last week. So I want to see how I do this week.
Yeah, and I think I think this one might be kind of similar. There's a couple of little difficult ones. I just kind of choose at random, if I'm being honest. I have a big old folder of every high school here in Texas, and just kind of just move my mouse until I want to stop, and then just kind of choose in that general area. So we got 3 choices for you, and let's go ahead again. I'll give you the name of the school, give you about 10 seconds to guess, and see if you got it right. So first school.
What you got for me, Wac?
El Paso Pebble Hill.
With El Paso school first starting off, I'm going to say the Pebble Hill Falcons.
Falcons. That kind of sounds right? But they are the Spartans.
Oh, no.
Pebble Hill Spartans.
El
Paso. Yeah.
That's a cool mascot. I like that.
Yeah, and it's some of it too. As I come across their logo, I'm like, that's a cool logo. Let's see if you can get it. So that was your first one.
What does that logo remind you of? I feel like that logo reminds me of like a Yu-Gi-Oh card character.
Yeah, a Yu-Gi-Oh card character?
Yeah.
Reminds me more of the movie 300 more than anything else.
Yeah, it kind of looks like the Dark Magician's cousin.
There you go. Okay, I got you.
Or
I
you
feel you.
nerds out there.
Hey, as you can see behind me, I got some Funkos and stuff, and actually got a
Come
Yu-Gi-Oh
on.
Funko somewhere over here. So there you go. All right. So next
I
one we
thought you would
got.
appreciate that reference.
Hey, I do appreciate it. Next one we got is Overton.
Oh, I think I know this. Is it the Overton Eagles? Kind of on a bird kick right now, I guess.
You are in bird kick, and
It's either that or the Warriors.
no, it is the Mustangs.
Not even close.
Hey, like we said, there are
Okay.
over 1,300 schools in the state of Texas. Some of
Where
these
is
are going to be.
Overton?
That one, if I'm being honest, I don't even know what Overton is. Let's see what good old Google has to say. Overton, Texas, is located.
Near Longview.
Yeah, over it's over a little just east of Tyler, Texas,
East of Tyler.
which
Or
is
Overton.
east of Dallas.
People are from Overton on this.
So our last one, this is one that this of the three, this is the one I feel like you could and should get. So no pressure or anything. Stafford. If this helps, this is a Houston team.
Right, yeah, they're the Houston team. Oh my gosh. Spartans.
That is correct. Stafford Spartans.
Oh, yes, sir.
So
Stafford Spartans. Hey,
staying steady, right? One for three last week, 1 for 3 this week. So, I always try and throw one in there that's maybe you should get. So, 1 for 3 again.
Like I said, man, if I'm 1 for 3 in my career in baseball, I'm in the Hall of Fame. So I'm a Hall of Famer right now. That's what we're getting at. I'm still a Hall of Famer. So fun fact about Stafford. You want to hear this?
Go for it.
Stafford. So all of these schools, whatnot, they are ISDs. Means an independent school district. That means that they're independent from this. So guys independent from the city of Houston, technically, even though they're very intertwined. Stafford is in Stafford, Texas, a suburb of Houston. It's a MSD, a municipal school district. It is the only school in the state of Texas that is technically run by the city. So it's Stafford MSD instead of Stafford ISD.
That is definitely a nugget of information I did not know. That is very interesting nugget of information. They also technically won state in basketball last year because they made it to the state finals, but before they could play, or the state semis, but before they could play, COVID shut it down. And they were, as you know, every team that got there that didn't get to play, they were technically awarded state champions. So, that's
right.
That's a little nugget of information for you.
2020 basketball 4A state champions, 1 of 4, apparently.
Yes. Which my hometown almost got to that point because they played Stafford in the regional final or whatever. So right before the state semis, and they lost to them. So Pleasanton right there.
Yeah, I believe they're in Region 4 of 4A. So there you go.
Well, Scotty,
1 of 3, baby.
1 of 3. Any?
Hey, credit to you for finding them.
I mean, my challenge isn't too hard, so I just scroll and pick. So, like I said, I have the whole folder full of the logos from that I actually went and created last summer. So when the whole COVID situation happened. So, anything else before we close this out tonight, Scotty? Or not tonight, but today.
So, Josh, I want to think of a segment, and sorry I didn't prep you for this, but
okay, surprising me now.
Surprising you, that's correct. And I kind of got this from the Token CEO podcast. It's Erica Nardini. She's the CEO of Barstool, and her podcast, we can't say this word, but she ends her podcast with one good thing. Mm-hmm. So, Josh, I want to ask you before we get out of here, what is your one good thing that you saw this last week?
One good thing I saw this week. Ooh, that's interesting. Just because I kind of worked all week, but I mean, maybe not that I saw, but I mean, can I just say it's getting closer to my wedding? Can I say that? So
that is a one good thing, man. You were less than 30 days out now.
Yeah. So Saturday was 1 month. So 1 month out. So
that's your one good thing. You're 1 month away from your wedding.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
How about you, Scott? What's one good thing for you?
One thing is So I'm glad that the state wrestling championship happened. Yes, even though it was pushed back a little bit here, these kids still got to compete. And I don't want to use that as the cop-out for especially baseball, softball, and we talked about soccer last week with Lethal Enforcer. But, these kids didn't get that last year. And so that's my one good thing for this week, that I'm going to try to maybe have something a little bit better this next week. But, that's my one good thing is that these kids got to compete and win state championship wrestling.
Well, hey, now that I know about the segment, I can start thinking about my weekend and exactly. Well, Scott.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be high school related or anything of that nature. But
Nope.
We want to end on a positive note here because we like covering good positive stories here at Vype Media. So, what's your one good thing? I think that's how we should end the show every single week.
I am 100% for that. But that is our show for the week. No Tuesday show tomorrow. Probably no Tuesday show for the next couple of weeks. Matt and Josh busy finishing up some magazines. We'll still be here every Monday as much as we can, pretty sure. So we will be back next Monday for sure. Tune in Saturday on Vype. We got some all Houston area team basketball going on. So be looking out for that. Josh Cook will be on the call for that. Other than that, that's our Monday show. See you next week.
Thanks, everybody.